Good morning, CWCC members. Happy Monday. We have with us today Sara van Rensburg, the president and CEO of the Colorado Thought Leaders Forum, and I'm so excited to be chatting with her today. She is literally one of the smartest women I know. She's brilliant, and what she's done with the Thought Leadership Forum is so admirable as a female business leader, as a woman with a past corporate career. I'm just so honored to have you here. So thank you, Sara, for taking the time to do this with us and sharing your expertise.
Thank you, Kristen. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this interview, and one of the reasons why I chose you, other than you're brilliant, the idea of what the Colorado Thought Leadership Forum is all about, and how you're about heart level leadership and how you're really transforming leaders. And you can talk more about your mission, but to me that's so interesting right now, kind of given everything that's going on in corporate America, and how I think that this isn't unusual, that corporate America sometimes is given social problems to solve, right? We want our corporations to step in and make a stand. And I think that that's good, right? I think it's good when corporations can really use their weight in order to make a difference. I don't think it can all be solved there, but I do think it's a great place to start. And just kind of wanted to ask you, how is that going right now? How are you, feeling about developing leaders, especially in the time of COVID and when diversity is so important and brought to the limelight? And just ask you about that. How are you feeling about that right now?
I mean, there's no doubt these are challenging times. CTLF got started back in 2009 when the economic downturn was very real, and there were companies who were struggling, and the whole philosophy was like, let's come together as a community and let's help each other. Like, let's support each other. And the reality is, if I know you, I know who you are, I know what you do, and I care about you, I can serve you in a way that's extremely meaningful. Mm-hmm. And I can help elevate your leadership and you can help elevate mine. And at the end of the day, leadership is nothing more than one person catalyzing another person and elevating them so that the rising tide raises all boats. So to be honest with you, I think there's never been a better time for us to really see one another as human beings and support each other in a real way right now, today, that actually makes a difference.
That's so exciting. And, you think about that when I think about, sort of training and corporate training. And when you think of like in-house training and developing leaders, I think a lot of it is so structured, right? Of, here's the ways that you develop a leader within our organization. And I rarely hear about, kind of getting to know you as a person and what leadership looks like for you and given your individual experience. And I think that that's really powerful. I think, I've certainly done that. My leadership is directly related to how I grew up, my style of leadership, my experience, both in and out of the workplace. So that is fascinating that you guys do that. Give me just a couple examples of like how you do that at CTLF.
Well, to that point, leadership is so often structured, but it's never what I'm doing that tends to have the greatest impact on my leadership. It's what's in the way. Like, it's those underlying beliefs, the way I'm thinking, the way I'm being, and you can't really get at those except through relationship and trust and being authentic. So we've created a lot of our programming as small peer groups where we're actually connecting and knowing one another, and we're exploring what are the barriers that I have to my leadership. And as in my personal experience, as soon as a barrier is uncovered and I see, I didn't know I was thinking that way, usually I never have to go back and, remember the 6 steps to this leadership,
right.
Technique, because I changed and now it's just gone.
Uh-huh. Well, that's powerful. And I will call out to a lot of the women members at the Women's Chamber that we so often have barriers that are buried deep down inside that we haven't been able to get out in the workplace. And so I highly encourage them to participate in your programming. I've been a part of some of it, and I am a huge fan. And I'm a huge fan, of course, of yours because of what you've done with your career and what you've done with the organization and its programming. So just kind of wanted to, this interview is always about growth, right? And We want women to help other women grow. And so I feel like what really gets at that core is give us a time in your career when you've persevered, what you learned from it, and what wisdom you could impart on our members as a result of that.
Yeah, so several years ago, I was in a situation with a team of men, and I was struggling because, I've always been a little bit of a, more out of the box thinker. And so I had that going against me. And I'm a woman. I was struggling. I had small children, and I couldn't communicate in a way that they could understand. And it was incredibly frustrating to me. I mean, on a fairly regular basis, I would present an idea, and I was in the leadership position, mind you. They were in supportive board roles, and I would explain what I had in mind, and they would push back and ask me questions and largely resist. And I was incredibly frustrated. And then another one of them would say the same thing, and everyone would say, "Hey, great idea. You do that." And I would just be burning in my skin. And I was working with my coach, and I had this aha, because I realized I was sure of the direction we should be going. I knew it. I was in the organization. The plan was solid, but I was coming at it with such force, such strength, because I was tired of the resistance. I was tired of the pattern. And my coach helped me realize something. And anytime any person comes at you with like force, we resist. It's natural. We want to push back. And my enthusiasm was too much. It was creating a natural resistance in them that I didn't see. And as soon as I started realizing, wait a minute, I don't need them to see it my way. I'm presenting an idea, and I came with a little bit more neutral perspective. All of a sudden, they started changing around me. And it took an enormous amount of persistence, because I had a habit of trying to force them out of my way, because I was just frankly quite tired. So I had to reframe all of that. But I got to tell you, the relationships I ultimately developed with them, and the partnership and the alliance, and the fact that their disagreement made better solutions because I became open, transformed my entire career. And I'm just glad I stuck with it long enough, because there were times I thought, I'm out.
Yeah, it's so hard. I remember one time, there's a couple times that I can think of when I was at larger organizations. And I think oftentimes, women are told, oh, you need to change your style a little bit because when you come on strong with men, it's off-putting to them. And I think it's helpful for men to hear that, right? Because, they need to hear it from the other side. But I also think it's important for women to hear that too. And there's different schools of thought on whether or not we should adjust. But I always say, like, it's still men at the top, and they need to get used to, us being in stronger roles. But I think we also need to think about it from the perspective of we shift our communication all the time, no matter who it is, right? Sometimes it's, a peer, and we need to figure out how to communicate better with them so that they better understand. I had a boss one time, because I'm like you, I'm a creative thinker, and he was an engineer. And whenever I would talk, he's like, woman, like 50% of the time, I think your ideas are brilliant. And the other 50% of the time, you drive me crazy. Right. And I had to figure out, and it was a coach that taught me this, I have to draw for him. When my ideas are really out there, I needed to whiteboard it for him to catch up to where I was, because my mind was racing so much and my creativity was going wild. And that one small adjustment got so many ideas pushed through. And so I really appreciate you sharing that, because we don't always think the same. So what's the best way of getting our ideas heard or advocating for ourselves? And to me, it doesn't really matter how we have to shift as long as it happens. So
An analogy that helped me a lot, it came from Bruce Lee, who, as a martial artist, he was always really, he called it neutral, the power of water, where if you have water and I jump in it moves and it flows around me. It's not hard. It's not compressing or pushing back. However, water is one of the most powerful things in the world. And learning that mix, that balance of when do I like water absorb and accept and flow, and when do I need to use it as strength? And I think that was a huge deal for me to realize I need to make wiser choices about when I use water with power and when I absorb.
That's amazing. Is that your mantra as well? We always ask our women to share a mantra. Yours is Bruce Lee. Amazing.
I wish it was like that, quite that well thought out, but it's really not. My mantra is more know who you are, know what your genius is and what your gift is to the world so that you can live in it. I had a mentor once, he used to teach me, you need to spend 80% of your time in your world-class skill, your genius, your gift, that when you're in it, you are thriving, and it doesn't matter how hard it is, it still gives you life and energy. And that to me has been the most powerful thing for me, because I used to think, I could just grow my leadership to be good at this thing over here. I thought it was a leadership deficit when really it's not who I am. It's not how I'm wired. And so the more I've come to know who I am and what my gifts are, the happier I've been, and also the more fulfilled and impactful.
How did you get there, Sara?
It was a long process. I spent a lot of time asking myself, what is it I love? What gives me life and energy? What do I struggle at? What do other people think I'm good at? When I do something, it gives me great life and energy, and I just can't stand it. I love it so much. Good thing to pay attention to. And on the flip side, when I started getting really clear, what is it that no matter how many times I go around this circle, I still can't get it right? And those were really good signs. This is not your giftedness.
Right. That is so helpful for me to hear right now, because I think you and I have talked about, where I feel like that 80% time is connecting, right? I love connecting. I love advocating for our mission. I love being out there. And I'm just trying to reinvent and figure out how to do that in a digital world. So thank you for reminding me that just because, sometimes we have to reinvent how we execute our gifts too, right? So I think I needed to hear that today, my first day back on vacation, which I feel so lucky that this interview got to happen on my first day back, because I think I needed to hear that. And you have this like beautiful sunshine beams coming out of your head, so it's almost magical. Well, thank you, Sara, for doing this interview. I really appreciate it. And I'll share it with you, and we'll share it with our members.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.